All right. And learned from watching how they edit the rest of the pull list stuff, sometimes they like to leave
Yeah,
the fun stuff up front. They did such a good job though putting this together. Like watching
Matt's amazing.
dude, Matt and the whole editorial production team over there are dope. But like I was like after I watched just the intro to the one I did with the Batgirl lady, I'm like, they put more effort into this intro than I put into like this whole channel. And and so it's like good on them. Good on them. I appreciate y'all.
And then
All right.
there's me and Hannah.
And here's the thing: it's just like you got to know like where your comfortable line with your bandwidth is. It's just like you know what
That's
it's like.
fine.
I know what I'm comfortable doing, and I'll give 100% effort to the line where I want to give it. It's
I
like,
got you.
and I know where my line is, and I'm like I just
Mhm.
don't care. But that's what you have good people that come alongside you and care. So
That's exactly right.
thank you guys. All right. Hey, everybody, welcome to the Faith and Fandom podcast. I'm joined here today with Mosaic Fan Art's Todd Turner. And just want to let you know that Faith and Fandom is now part of the Love Thy Nerd podcast network. And you can check interviews out first over at lovethynerd.com/faith and fandom. But we're here today, and I've got Todd. Todd's one of my favorite people. He does amazing
Woohoo!
things. And he's a lot of people's favorite people, from what I'm gathering. But Todd's
Crazy
a fan.
pants.
Yeah, Todd's fantastic people. We're excited to share with you just about his heart, his art, and all the ways those things impact other people. So, Todd, tell us who you are, what you do, your vibe, as we were previously discussing Kentucky and all the
Yeah.
things. But who are you, man?
Well, I am Todd Turner, Mosaic Fan Art. I am a full time owner operator of a pharmacy. A lot of people don't realize that. Pretty busy job. In my spare time, other than being a wife and a husband and a father, I am a mosaic artist. But it's a little bit different because I do mosaics of pop culture things, usually superheroes and villains. And that just was a hobby that I started, and it's blossomed into something else. So yeah, I don't know what else. I live in Central Kentucky. I have a wife, three kids. Two of them are married. I am the grandpa of LTN. I feel like with the gray beard. Um, I am an avid comic book collector, and that is my main fandom. I dabble. I'm a dabbler of just about anything. And yeah, that's it.
And you
I'm a child of
also,
the king.
yeah, there you go. You also host your own podcast with your
Oh,
daughter.
that's right. Yes, Hannah Hannah's my oldest. She and I have a podcast called Sis and Big Pops Culture. We started it right at the beginning, about a year before the dreaded COVID outbreak, and as a way for she and I to stay connected because she was in another town, lonely, and had didn't have friends there at the moment because she had moved. And we thought, well, let's just create a podcast. We don't have any clue what we're doing, but we like nerdy things, and we'll talk about nerdy things. And so I think we're up to about 73, 74 episodes. We usually record about every other week. And we do nerd news, which is not groundbreaking. It is news that Hannah and I find important to us, and that's it. We talk about what we're binging, whether it be media, any kind of media, whether it be TV shows, books, graphic novels, podcasts. We also usually do a pops pull list, which is I usually try to pick a DC book, a Marvel book, an independent, a new number one, and my book of the week. And then we'll review a movie or a trade or both. And so, yeah, that's where we are. That's me.
And Todd is also the man that we trust to actually give us better opinions on comics for the pull list than we have for ourselves. So
I don't know, man. Kevin Conley's he's pretty darn good.
Oh, Kevin is great too. He really is.
Yeah, I know. I feel like I should be under his wing, sitting at his lap. Maybe he just has better worry with words than I do. I don't know. The old guy in me just I hate typing, and so. But anyway,
I would like to do a like maybe a TikTok comics review of just where it's just my facial expressions for
oh yeah,
books. Be like,
there you go.
and yeah, just like another like, oh, here's the Tom King face. Here's the
Yeah, that's right. The Tom King face. That's a good one, man.
yeah.
Uh,
So you said you started this as a hobby. How did you start your mosaics as a hobby?
was interesting. So in 2002, my wife and I were in Chicago for our anniversary, and we just got away for the weekend. And we went to the Navy Pier. At that time, on the Navy Pier, if anybody's been there, they got the huge Ferris wheel and all kinds of stuff. You can ride a boat that goes 800 miles an hour and get drenched. But at that point, they had a stained glass museum at the Navy Pier. Not mosaics, but like stained glass windows or stained glass, um, just creations of the sort. And we went on that. I thought it was amazing. And I don't know, just something in me clicked and thought, wouldn't that be cool if like Spider-Man was in a stained glass window? Like, because I love comics. I always wanted to be a comic book artist. I cannot draw to save my life. I tried. I have I have sketches in the basement that are just horrible. Or wanted to create my own comic books, but I just couldn't do it. So I thought, why not? This was 2002, like the internet. Who even thought of the internet in 2002? And I was like, nobody does this that I knew of at the time. And so if it's bad, no one can say it's bad, because it's brand new medium. It's something no one's ever done. It's just my interpretation of these famous characters that everybody knows and loves. And I just thought I would try my hand at that. So I get home and decide this is what I want to do. And my wife's not like, we're not having lead in the house with babies, three small children, because lead, you use lead came to do stained glass windows and that, which isn't dangerous if you use it correctly. But I didn't know that. You hear lead in the house, you automatically think lead poisoning. So,
Right.
so I was like, well, then maybe I'll do mosaics. Bought a couple books from a home improvement store, Lowe's. I don't know if you guys have those where you
Oh
are.
yeah, Lowe's is where I'm at.
Yeah. So they had two books on mosaics, like how to make like a table or something like that. And I thought, well, I could utilize this. And then I was like, well, I need to get my materials. And good story. I tell a long story. So I didn't have we didn't have money for the materials. We were on a pretty strict budget, and it didn't even take a lot of money. But my wife wanted to go to an auction in town. And we had this discussion that you can't go to the auction because we don't have the money for an auction. We don't have money to go buy things at this auction. She goes, okay, well, I won't. So I even checked into it. You had to pre-register to bid at this auction. So, we weren't going to be able to do that. So she went for a walk on a Saturday when I was outside mowing. And then she came back and said, I bought a record collection at the auction. And I was like, no, you didn't. I know you didn't, because you had to pre-register to even bid at this auction. And she goes, oh, our friends Joan and Charlie were there. They let me bid on their number. And so she spent $25 and bought a box of records. And I sold those records on eBay for about $300 to $400 and made my money to start up my mosaics. And
Did you keep any of the records?
I still have some of the records because they're worthless.
Okay.
And I actually broke up some of the records, and it's included in my Ghost Rider mosaic that I have created that people can see. That uses part of those old scratchy records that you have to go like 700 mile an hour to even listen to them on one of them old Victrola whatever machines.
Yeah.
But yeah. So that's what happened, and that's where it started. So I did this. It kept this in my basement forever. Never took. I mean, people knew that I did it, but people didn't see it. I didn't share it. Only my closest friends who knew and came to our house and would even know that I did it. And then during a sermon, I don't know. I don't remember what the preacher said or what the message was about. I just remember God telling me that He would not give me or anyone a talent or a love for something that He couldn't use for His kingdom. So I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense. I mean, first of all, I love comic books, and I don't know how in the world you can use that for your kingdom. But that's my love, and that's one of my passions. And I'm halfway decent at this mosaic thing. So maybe if, I believe that God could use it. So at that point, I made a mission statement, created Mosaic Fan Art, and just started throwing my stuff out there and to see where it would stick. And the first time I ever showed my works in public was the premiere of The Force Awakens at a movie tavern in Nicholasville, Kentucky. And then it's gone from there to go to comic conventions and art shows and stuff like that with the whole entire purpose. It's funny because Kathy, my wife, and we've had this big discussion yesterday. The whole purpose is to let other people know that we're all broken, every one of us, whether it's something that we've done or people have done to us, spiritually, financially, physically, mentally. We all have had periods of brokenness, and that in the right hands of the right artist, those broken pieces can be put back together to create a masterpiece that would have never been there um, without being broken in the first place. So that's the whole purpose of Mosaic Fan Art, is to let people know that um, you are a masterpiece, and if you think you're broken, you can be put back together stronger, better, and be an amazing creation in the hands of the right artist, which I believe is Jesus Christ. So that's the purpose of Mosaic Fan Art. And my wife and I were having this discussion. I know I'm just talking, but I feel
I'm
like
here for it, dude.
I need to push that purpose. I'm not just selling mosaics, because it's funny. We talked about that. She's like, you can make money selling mosaics. I'm like, yes, but that's not the purpose of Mosaic Fan Art. It's a very nice byproduct. Trust me. But that's not the purpose. So the issue then, we were actually talking last night. Well, how do we move that purpose forward? So we're working on that. Yeah.
Do you, can I ask, do you have some ideas for that?
Well, yeah. I mean, I currently, I don't hide my faith, but I don't scream it either. Does
Yeah.
that, what I'm saying? It, you know, you can't really scream your faith at comic book conventions or anything like that, because honestly, a lot of the people that we come in contact with have been hurt a lot by, by church or whatever. And so I have a pamphlet that I hand out to everybody. We always hand them out, and it basically is that mission statement with "We'd love to talk to you about it." We've had, maybe a handful of people who have responded to that, which has been really great. And and in my, I want to see massive amounts of people reach for the gospel in this thing. It's sort of a disappointment to me, but luckily my wife is a big encourager, and she's like, "Oh, that's great. You just, one person is worth it all." And so I think social media, I'm going to be more vigilant about it, more posting, when I post my posts, not be preachy, but be, you know, I, I believe our job as Christians are not necessarily, we're here to be Jesus. We're here to introduce people to Jesus. And I'm not here to say what you do is right, what you do is wrong. I don't care what you believe, who you believe. My job is to introduce you to a friend of mine. I've got this guy that I think you might find pretty cool, you know, and then what happens with that after that is all up to you. I mean, it's out of my hands. I don't, God didn't come, Jesus didn't come into the world to condemn the world, but to save it. And I don't think we should do the same either. Sometimes a lot of the people we come in contact with feel like they've been condemned. And so right off the bat, as a Christian, I feel like I start behind in the count. So you have to be gentle. And so I want to use that and find a way to incorporate it into my posts and social media, and just be a little bit more vocal at the comic conventions I go to. And I've stopped doing art shows because the opportunity for me to witness or to explain why Mosaic Fan Art was created is dialed back in those. You really don't have a lot unless you're at a gallery opening. You really don't have a lot of one-on-one with people looking at your art. I don't know. Maybe that's not right either. Maybe that's a maybe I need to have more at art shows, and then people would come to my website and have an opportunity. I don't know. So we're just spitballing.
I think just like with your social stuff, like with your posts, like I mean, one of my favorite things just here, because I mean, this is not the first time we've had this conversation. That's like you and I have talked about this, and I still love hearing it every time. And one of the reasons why is like just your thing where you tell, like we're all broken, and in the right hands, we can be made something beautiful. Like, dude, even if you just had a simple like graphic of that in a nutshell that you added on to the photos of all your other stuff, if you posted your photos of all your work and then that
Yeah.
graphic is just in the chain of things, I think, or even if that was on a display piece with your gallery, um, I believe in what you do, and I've seen what you do online, and just how you talk to other people, and I've heard other people's responses to your stuff from shows, from cons. There's people that I talked to at Heroes Con this year who saw your stuff at a show in Kentucky.
Oh,
um
cool. I'm
um
hoping to get in.
I'm hoping you get in too, because listen, if they put us in the same room, it's gonna be a party. um we're just gonna have a great show. um with that. Okay, I thought
I
I
lost
lost
you
you.
for a second.
Yeah, I was about to
Yeah, I
say I
did
lost
too.
you. Yeah,
Mhm.
if they put us in the same room at Heroes Con, like, well, it's not,
Woo!
it's one room. We're gonna have a party. Um,
Heck yeah.
but there's a couple, the Heltons. They're big cosplayers. Dude usually dresses like either the Undertaker or Doctor Fate, but he lives in your area, but always comes to
Really
Heroes Con. Yeah.
neat.
But they've been coming to Heroes Con for 10 years or more. And I see them consistently, and they just come by to say, hey, but like I asked them, I showed them your stuff. They're like, do you recognize this? They're like, oh yeah, that guy's great.
That's cool.
Um,
Neat. That's a
uh,
small world, man.
it
Yeah.
is. It is. And we travel in small circles, and I've seen a lot more LTN people in the last few years at shows than not. And it's just neat to see how that's working out together. But I think what you do is valuable in that, and it's a simple reminder. And you know what? People, there are different strokes for how everybody does their art, how everybody does their ministry.
Yeah. That's
And
true.
I was yesterday I was preaching on Romans 14 and the Mandalorian, because we were doing a nerd movie series, whatever, at our church, and talking about how people have different convictions on things. And it's like there's a lot of different approaches to ministry, especially in the con world. Like if you look at the LTN mission trip that just went to like Gen Con,
Right. Hmm.
the primary thing they were doing was serving by volunteering at booths and working in that capacity. There's a dude named Two Land, um, who it has a tiger superhero comic. Um, uh, and he looks like an urban tiger superhero. And Two Land and I are almost always at the same show. Um,
Nice.
but his stuff is like subtle.
Oh
Like
yeah.
he's making clean comic books that kids can be encouraged by.
Cool.
And they're not gospel represented, and like they're not going to have like any kind of salvation pitch or anything like in it, but they're clean, they're encouraging. And but if you go out to his van, it's like Liberty University. It's like on the side of the van, and you're like, oh, okay. Yeah, it's like we're on the same circles there. Um and
There you
that's just been the thing of it. It's just like people have different approaches with it.
Yeah.
And even the show I was at yesterday or Saturday, there was a church that their whole ministry to the con was to provide a children's area.
Oh,
um
that's great.
Like they weren't selling anything, they weren't pitching anything, but like the
Free
con
play
knew.
zone.
Free play zone. And they had Legos, they had uh one of the seminary professors from Southeastern Theological Seminary is a 501st member. And
Oh, sweet.
so he was in like, a movie authentic Boba Fett costume, and like they were given Polaroids with Boba Fett like that looked like wanted posters.
Oh,
And
that's awesome.
so like
Yeah.
their whole ministry was just providing that to it. And I think your voice is something that is really valuable and valid in those circumstances or in any circumstances.
Well, I
Um,
appreciate it. I mean, good thing about it is my stuff does turn heads.
yeah.
So people walk by and go, "What?" Because most people haven't seen anything like this. There are a few Mosaic fan artists out there currently, uh, but like my giant Spider-Man, I took it to the last con I went to, and that took 4 people to move. And one of the guys had to go and have a stents put in afterwards. That's another story. But anyway, yeah. So it's heavy, but that life size Spider-Man, watching people, they're like, "Are you kidding me?" And then and an interesting thing is that I let people touch it. Most people art in an art gallery, you don't touch, you just look. But there's something about being able to actually put your hand on it and feel it and see. It's just a lot of fun. So yeah, I do pull a lot of people to the booth, and get a chance to pass out my wares. But we have good conversations. It's like, you had that the 50 things that you should do at a con or make a good con or whatever, and those are really good. So uh, a interesting thing about my booth is I usually have 2 booths, and I'll have at least 4 to 6 people working. We're not working. We're just talking, right?
Hmm.
But I try to make sure I want everybody who's there helping me to have the same heart as me. Um, so like they have to believe in the mission and be kind, and it's really good. I've had a lot of good people help and a lot of conversations, and I try to bring people with me who know stuff that I don't know, and so they'll like holler out, nice Mabel and Dipper outfit. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. And
Yeah.
my daughter's like, it's Gravity Falls, Dad. I'm like, okay, yeah, whatever. So it's really fun. Yeah. So that's the plan. We're hoping to get in. I'm hoping to get in to do maybe 3 cons next year. I usually only do 1 to 2 just because it's so hard for me.
Right.
Um, so I already have my spot for the Lexington Comic Convention, which is the first weekend in March, or 7th through 10th, I think. I have applied to Heroes Con. Spoke with the lady there. I even sent a down payment for 2 booths just in case. And she said that they give their returners up until September 1st.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that my plan is to have 2 booths if there's room.
Well, dude, they had space the week of this year.
Did they?
Yeah.
Well, then good.
They also expanded and added a whole nother section to the show. So
Really?
the
Wow.
Charlotte Convention Center is one of the biggest convention centers in the Carolinas. Um,
Okay.
like here or GalaxyCon really should move there, but they're also not gonna step on
Spend the
those
money.
toes. Well,
Oh,
like you don't. That's somebody else's territory, I
I
think.
understand. Yeah,
And
I got you. Sure.
but they yeah, I don't see them politely doing that. Um, but no, it's a really important thing to just be out there and to be able to be that encouragement with them. And that's one of the things I struggle too is I'll often end up doing shows by myself because I don't want to trying to find people with the right heart
Yeah.
can be hard.
Mm-hmm.
Um
Mm-hmm.
or the right heart and the ability to just have that kind of time commodity. And I also introvert, so it's a little bit harder when it comes to me with some things like that. Um but yeah, it's a
I
neat
feel
thing.
like I'm introverted too. People say I'm not, but I am. I'd rather be at home in a shell somewhere. That's why
That's
I work in the basement on art alone.
I've learned about myself that I'm introverted with I'm introverted without a platform. I'm an extrovert with a platform. If you give me something to hide
Nice.
behind, I'm extroverted.
Oh,
A,
gotcha.
a microphone, a pulpit, a booth. If I've got a safe bubble where I can
Yeah,
get, yeah, I'm good.
that's nice.
If you put me out there naked in the world, I'm like,
Hmm.
yeah, let me be
I
quiet.
understand. Yeah.
Um, so you started doing this. You've been doing it for gosh, 21 years.
21 years now. That's crazy,
Wow,
isn't it? Wow.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Um, yeah, that's a huge deal, dude. And you've had success from what I've seen. You've had like two major studio acknowledgments from Marvel and DC.
Hmm.
Want to talk about those?
Well, Marvel, not DC.
Not DC.
I've Marvel. No, I don't. Did DC say anything about
You had
anything? Oh
the
yeah, 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 yeah. Star. See, I forgot about that. Yeah, that's
see,
true.
see, I celebrate you, man.
I did. I forgot all about it. So yeah. So during I don't know many people who collect comics and they know this that a lot of the big studios they've gone away from the big going to the big cons or little cons like Emerald City and even San Diego and they do their own little thing now.
Yeah,
Like well DC during COVID did basically an online what do they call it? I can't remember the
something with
words for it.
dome in it.
Yeah, Fandom. DC
Fandom.
Fandom.
Yeah,
And so where you could do different things. You didn't have to be art. They did have an art competition. Then they had like how do you express your fandom or whatever. And they chose one of my pictures. They chose a Batman. It was stained glass on wood, and it was the final scene in the end credits of the Batman TV show with the bat signal over top of the Gotham City, which was so it's pretty. It was very cartoonish almost. Very. It was all blue, black, white, yellow, and that was it pretty much. So they put that on their website as one of their things for celebrating of DC fandom. Marvel, um, they had a competition for um, Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness, and I have a piece that is actually broken currently. Um, yeah, I'll explain that later. So I had
oopsie.
oopsies, right. It got destroyed coming back from a con. Um, so this was a Doctor Strange piece, and it won first prize, not grand prize. Apparently, their grand prize is better than first prize. I learned that. So it was second place in their art competition. And it was very cool. I got some autographed um, paintings or some like promo work that they did for the movie, and some personalized letters where it was evident that they had gone back and looked at my process of making the piece um, for Doctor Strange from the art department and from the people who did the movie, which was really cool. And the Doctor Strange piece is usually almost everyone picks it as one of their favorite pieces. It just it takes it takes the panel right out of Strange Tales, two different um, Ditko pieces. One is Doctor Strange facing away, and the other is a literal panel from the comic turned sideways. And then it's backlit very brightly. And so it won. That was pretty cool. I did get some tweets out. I got James Gunn retweeted a photo of mine once, which was really cool. It was of my Groot and Rocket Mosaic, and Gabriel Luna, who played Ghost Rider, um, retweeted my Ghost Rider Mosaic, which was fun. And Scott Derrickson actually he did the first Doctor Strange movie, and he took a screenshot of my mosaic and he reposted it and tagged me with stained glass from the Church of the Strange, which was really cool. That was really cool. So those are my nerd accomplishments that I would say um, by DC and Marvel. I'm up here to do more for them if they ever connect, want me to, but I have not heard from them. But yeah, But poor Doctor Strange sits in several pieces in the basement currently.
Mm.
Yeah.
In pieces. Well,
It's what happens whenever you move glass. Um, and which is why it's not that big. It doesn't bother me as much. It's not wouldn't be the first time that I've had to refix a piece. I've told you before that the glass, you would think it's very rigid and very sharp, but it's very forgiving. You can cut it and put it, and if it doesn't work, you get another piece, and it will eventually come together. And once you grout it, it'll be amazing. So yeah.
that's actually one of my favorite phrases of yours is that the glass is forgiving. Like I've got notes on that, like whole analytical concept of, the things that we think are most broken are the things that can still be easiest or most repaired. And
Yeah.
that's just like,
I mean, like Spider-Man back there. You look at it, and it looks. If people who are watching who see this, it looks like a complete photo, but it is not. It is a bunch of little itty bitty pieces, and they break, and you don't like it. You pull it off. You put another piece back on, and in the whole faux picture, it comes together, which is hard to grasp when you're working on it. At first, it was hard for me to grasp to look at something and go, "This is not going to look good." And then when you put the grout in and you clean it up and you shine it up, it's like, oh yeah, it does look good. So yeah, so there you
see, I
go.
I need some the glasses forgiving shirts at your booth, and that's a good conversation piece
There
of
you go. I should do that.
I've played around with a sticker for it once or twice, but I'm like, no, I'm gonna let Todd do his thing
Yeah,
and
let me do my thing.
stay out of
Nice. I'll
stay out of
put that
Todd's
down the
sandbox.
list. My sandbox is plenty big. Trust me, I
Oh,
got plenty of room.
I'm sure you share well. And on that note, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. And there's our break, razzle dazzle.
Break time.
Um,
Woohoo.
all right, everybody, we're back, and once again, I'm joined by Todd Turner of Mosaic Fan Art, and we talked about how he got to where he got, how his glass is forgiving, and some accomplishments. What I'll ask you this, dude, what piece do you feel like you are either most proudest of, or you feel most accomplished by?
That's so, I get asked this a lot, and it is so hard for me to choose. I honestly think that my favorite piece is one I haven't created yet. Um, which I know is a lame answer, but I have a piece in my mind that I'm just dying to make, and that's going to be my favorite. Um, so,
Which one is
right.
that?
Oh, it's going to be Big Barda and Mr. Miracle, and as American Gothic,
Yes.
and
Yes.
it's going to be my favorite. So I love them. I think they're my favorite comic book couple of all time. They're just amazing together, and nobody will know who it is, you know, except for, well, you never know now with the animation being so popular, and that
Yeah.
they're being in so many different animated shows. Somebody might know who they are. I mean, us comic book nerds definitely will know who they are. Um, but I want you to know I was 52 before I realized that Scott Free was he gets away scot free. That's how long it took for me to actually.
That pun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
didn't catch that. So currently, my favorite one is probably Batwoman. I love Batwoman. This it was really took a long time to make, um, and it's very detailed. The the one that each piece is interesting because they each have a story. Um, either how I made it, why I made it, what happened while I made it. Um, so like Harley Quinn, I have a life size Harley Quinn, which is really cool. I call it the duality of Harley. And if you draw a line straight down her face, she looks like two different people,
Yeah.
and that's on purpose. And could not get her face right. I struggle with people's faces. That's like my struggle. So I have a friend who teaches high school art, and he's as hippie as can be. And I was like, John, could you come over and draw a face on Harley? Sure, man, I'll be over. I'll do it. Literally, he came over and he drew her face. So I get to tell that story. Harley is Um, you know, my friend John helped me with that. Uh, like Iron Man, I love Iron Man, the piece that I have, because my kids actually helped me with that a little bit. Took a lot of photos with my kids when they were little, holding the hammer, helping with. I literally made hands out of plaster, and they knocked them over 3 times. I had to glue the fingers back on and then screw the fingers back on 3 times. So I have that story. My Spider-Man, my life-size Spider-Man, I had to learn how to do molds of hands to get Spider-Man's hands right. I used my son's hands. So Spider-Man's hands are my son's. The next week, he broke both arms and had to have them both in casts. So each piece has a story. Like the Doctor Who piece that I made, it's actually a real clock. It does tell time. Watched all I watched all 3 Matrixes while working on that, So yeah. So it's hard to pick a favorite piece. I would say I love Batwoman. Um, it's not a popular piece. I mean, I doubt I'll ever sell her. But it's all right because that's the reason I don't do commissions. People are like, you should do commissions. I was like, yeah, I like making what I want to make. And that way, if I'm not, because like I said, I'm not there to sell it. Um, but if it does sell, if it doesn't sell, I get to keep it. Oh, and my Usagi was really cool too, but it like
Oh yeah,
sold before it was finished.
yeah. Your Usagi was fantastic. As soon as I knew you were working that, I'm like, oh yeah, that's going somewhere. Um, uh, and for me, like that thing about you actually having to care about what you do and want to do it. If you don't care about it, it makes it really hard to keep going. If you've seen some of my stuff, I make these little nerdy candles, and
Oh yeah.
they're not like anything that takes a lot of my mental awareness. It's just like pour some wax, go on about my
Mhm.
day. Like there's some marinating in my garage right now. Um, and I was at the show that I was at this past weekend. No, 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, I was at a show, and a woman came by, and like I know for you, it's a hard price point to be able to actually sell things that are at a honest level of value
Right. Hmm.
at an affordable price. And one of the reasons why I sell my candles cheaply is because one, they don't cost me anything, even in time, really to make. But they're pretty and they smell good and they're eye catching. And I sell my candles for $3 or two for five. And
Wow,
so
that's a great deal.
yeah, so especially like the PlayStation controller
Oh
candles,
yeah, that's cool.
people will walk by and they'll freak out, and that's almost always like no. Most people don't walk by and say, "Book, let me stop." Most people say,
Yeah.
"Is that a PlayStation controller candle or bath bomb?" And like people will see,
Or bath bomb. Yeah.
people will see the Death Star and say, "Is that a bath bomb?" And but they're one of my best conversation starters, and I enjoy making them, and I enjoy the catalyst that they are. And just like you said, your booth
Mhm.
has is eye turning. And a woman came up to me, she said, "What's your lowest price point on these candles?" I was like, that
$3.
$3.
Three
I was
dollars.
yeah, 250 if you buy two of them. And she's like, could you do $2 or $1.50? Could you do $1 each? I'm like, no. Just
Yeah.
for time. She's like, what if I order 300 of them? And I'm like, absolutely not.
Yeah,
Um,
because that's a lot of work.
yeah, that's like the man hours of that would be ridiculous, and the resources. She said that she was doing her wedding and she wanted to give them out as wedding
Oh.
favors for every attender.
Oh. Wow.
And I'm like, no. That's like I genuinely do not care enough about this for the
Yeah.
money you could offer me for that. I was like, no, thank you. And
Yeah.
being able to genuinely know like I'm doing this because I care. And I know for you it's artistic expression. I know for you it's ministry. I know for you it's the chance to create, but people really can't pay you to do what you do.
No.
And
No. I mean, I have sold some large pieces, which is I think I've sold 5 large pieces. By large pieces, I mean 1,800 to $3,000 a
right.
piece. But that's not a lot considering, I mean, how many I make,
Yeah, and the time and hours and everything. Yeah, with
which
it.
is why I make my minis, the little Batman. Because I sell those for 175 a piece, and they're 8 by 8. and they will pay for my booth
Yeah.
and my materials, which is that's it. I mean, I break even, which is why I try to do cons close to home, because that way I don't have to eat out, I don't have to pay for a hotel, I don't have to travel so far. Um, but and sometimes making the minis are just not as fun. They're not as fun to make,
No,
honestly.
because
Um,
it's the cut and dry. You know what you're doing. It's usually a
yeah.
logo or something.
Actually, my wife was like, I've said this, that I'm going to stop posting photos of my minis. And Kathy's like, why? That's my wife. And I'm like, because people keep saying I want to buy that. The purpose of me creating minis is to have stock for when I go to a con. And then she was like, well, just make more. I'm like, well, I mean, she goes, that con's in March. Just sell it if somebody wants it and make another one. And I'm like, well, I can, but that means I go to the basement and I'm not up here. And so it's difficult, because I want people to want it, but I I've actually had people who have watched me make something and said they're going to get it at the con, but by the time they've got to the con, it's been gone,
Yeah.
which is, it's tough. I feel bad, because I have a lot of people who are return purchasers, believe it or not. A
Oh, I
lot of people
believe it.
come back. And so if somebody says, like, this person wanted a Watchman, the smiley face, the
Yeah.
comedian smiley face, and I literally knew she wanted it. So I put it back. I didn't even put it out. I hid it back in the back. The guy who runs my local comic shop came by and said, "Where's that Watchman? I'm buying it." And I was like, here it is. Because, I mean, what do you do? I mean, right? He's first come, and he is the owner of my comic book shop.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Got to keep that paper flowing.
I got to keep it flowing. Yeah. And it was like, all right, here you go. How about we just do a 175 credit? And he's like, done. I said, all right, good deal. So, yeah.
I
I
mean,
don't even know what we were talking about. What were we talking about? What
who
was my
knows?
favorite?
Oh yeah, that was where we were. Yeah, with that.
Mhm.
But it's the creative process of being able to, and I love that you get to actually be creative in this and do it in a unique way. And I really do agree and think what you said. I don't think God gives us gifts or talents or passions that he doesn't intend to use.
It was
Um,
interesting because yesterday during our sermon, the pastor talked about being creative and how we all are creative. I mean, if we are created in the image of God and God creates, so we are creative. And he was like, go to a group of kindergartners and say, who is an artist? And everybody raises their hand. Go to a group of sixth graders, who's an artist? And like maybe 20% raise their hand. Go to a high school, who's an artist? Maybe one person might raise their hand. So, I mean, we're all artists. We just don't, that creativity is inside of us. We just don't tap it. So I believe that, that creativity, our creator gives that to us and he can use it to bring people into a loving relationship with him. It just requires um, willingness to do it. Yeah. Because he doesn't need anybody with skills. Trust me, I had none. I literally got a book from Lowe's and that was it. So um, everybody's like, oh, it's so hard to do. And I'm like, it just takes time and patience. That's what it takes, time and patience, and lots of band-aids. Other than that, you're good.
I do think that that's one of the hard parts is that, like, as you mentioned with the time progression, I feel like life beats the creativity out of us.
Mm-hmm.
And that it for me it draws back to the thing about how the seed is cast but the struggles of life out of the soil come and they choke it out. I feel like there's a lot of people with great things to contribute that have literally had the creativity beaten or choked out of them by life,
Yeah.
and they just don't have enough. They don't think there's enough left within them to actually create and do something.
Which is, this is, can I go off
Go off,
kilter
bro.
for a second?
Do it.
So my wife and I are in this book called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry.
Mm,
And it's based on some principles. It's basically Jesus was always busy, but he never hurried. And there are certain things that Jesus did in his life that, I mean, we know that for a fact because somebody said one of your best friends is dying, and he's like, I'll get there later. I mean, we know that. Um, so part of that, and I think this will help us as well, and my wife and I, is that we are simplifying and we are slowing down. We are reducing what we spend, which is going to have a negative impact on my comic book purchasing. Yeah, it's bad a month, which is, for anyone who knows me, that is huge.
Right.
Like, I've got my titles I just picked up this past Sunday, and there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 titles. So I got
At $5 a pop.
Shh, don't say that out loud. Actually, one was $2.99.
Ooh, wait, look at you, bargain
I
saver.
know. Ram V put out a new book. It was $2.99, and I thought, well, I'll give it a shot for $3, called something flavor, rare flavors. Yeah, and then bring it up here.
Oh,
Actually,
yeah, yeah.
I don't know what it is, but I'll read it. So we're gonna try that to see if that helps us, so that our creativity isn't choked out of us. I mean, it's not for everybody. I'm not saying that, but there is a way that, I think we need to try to rekindle that. I try hard at cons. I usually have a mosaic I'm working at there, and like, kids are the best. They want to see everything. They want to touch everything. So I'll try to give a little tutorial. This is how you do it. And they're like, "Oh, I could never do this." I'm like, "Sure you could. You could buy all this equipment right here at Hobby Lobby for less than $50. You could get started, and you could just find whatever broken pop bottles. You want to use something? I mean, you can do mosaics out of any material. I use it out of stained glass, but you can go to Home Depot or Lowe's, and they've got stuff that they're throwing away that's all busted. Can I have that, box for $5?
Yeah.
You can do that. Marbles, anything, beads. So I have a friend who does, I call it mosaics. It's more, he calls himself hero collage, and he cuts up comics.
Mm.
I know some people, are offended by that, but I like it because it makes the comics I own more valuable. He's decreasing the amount of comic books out in the world. So I give him love for it. But so you can make a mosaic out of anything. So anybody can do something creative. It's there, it's inside them. You just have to just find it. And it doesn't have to be perfect, because we're not perfect. Nothing's perfect. I mean, shoot, I'm colorblind. And on 3 or 4 of my pieces, I've accidentally put the wrong colors in.
I
And it's
bet.
evident. It is evident. Right in the middle of my big Unite the League piece, in the middle of Batman's symbol, is a purple piece. So when light shines through it, everything is black on Batman except for one trapezoid. It is purple. And it just shows right up there. Same thing in Daredevil's knee, purple. I did a mini of Venom and mixed purple and black.
Well,
So
that's pretty accurate though. The purple and the black.
that's what I told myself. So so just embrace it. Embrace the uniqueness. Embrace the imperfections, because that's what makes it even better, I think.
This past show, or the last two shows, I've just had I get tired of just looking up at people and smiling, because I'm not doing like things where I'm not like writing a book while people are there or anything. So like I wanted something to do to like occupy. So I bought a bunch of little business card size sketch cards.
Oh yeah, I saw those.
And so I'm just sitting there doodling at the booth, and I put a little sign that said terrible sketches by a writer. $1. And
Anybody buy one?
yeah, I sold some, and I was pretty
Hey,
excited.
you're going to be
about
doing covers like Tom King before long.
Dude, I feel like right now I could beat Tom King's covers. I feel confident in that. But like at right before the last show, or the show was over, a young lady's like, can I get a commission? And I'm like,
That's awesome on a
like,
card.
I'm like, are you sure? And she's like, yeah, Ken. She's like, and she was cosplaying a certain character from a show I've
Uh-huh.
never seen. And I was like, and she's like, can you do my character? And I like Googled something. I was like this. She's like, that, do that, something like that. And I put more time and effort into that. one
I
dollar,
love it.
$1 sketch card.
Yeah,
Um, and like so like and it but it made that girl's day. And like
that's awesome.
so I like had it hidden behind my like business card holder. She's like, where is it? And I was like, and I kind of went like, and
Ta-da!
she's like, that's amazing.
That's
And then she
awesome.
she literally took it and walked away.
Hmm.
And my 10-year-old was sitting beside me. She's like,
She
she
goes, she
didn't
didn't pay
pay
for it.
you. And then I was like, man, ain't that a kick? And then she ran back. She's like, oh, here's $1. And I'm like, thanks.
Thank
But
you. Your
but
first commission.
yes, and but it's one of those things of showing people like, and people are like, what, these aren't bad. I'm like, what? Well, I don't call myself that type of artist, so I appreciate that. But like, I
Mhm.
feel like even with that, it's a good way to connect with people and to say, what, try some new stuff, try some
Yeah.
new things. And so let me ask you this, because all I've seen, like the majority of what I've seen from you has been just pop culture stuff, and I know that's your vibe, that's your whole brand. Um, if you were to do one biblical scene,
I know what it is.
what is it? Let's hear it.
100%. It's it is I have this I have the picture in my head, and this is what I would do. So it is a hand reaching up. It is Peter's hand reaching up in the water and Jesus' hand reaching through the water to grab his hand. So
Mm.
you would be looking at it from Peter's point of view, his eyes. So as he is looking up with his hand up, you know, you can see Jesus on the, just like a silhouette wavy on the water with his hand reached down to pull him up out of the water. That's what I would do.
Okay, you're ready for that one.
Oh, I know that. It's in my head. I have these in my head that would be really cool. How would I do that? I don't know, but that would be really cool.
A
Yeah.
lot of shades of blue.
Yeah, which is funny. Yeah. I would have to have my family choose that one. They'd have to pick the colors for me. I couldn't do that. So, mhm.
That's awesome. Um, so that would be your biblical piece. If now here's one more just Bible nerd
Sure.
question to throw at you.
Yeah.
If you were to, outside of that piece, if you were to make a biblically themed piece that you felt best captured the heart of what Mosaic fan art is, like of the brokenness, what would that look like for you?
Like, somebody might think this is just bizarre, but Buddy Jesus.
The Buddy Christ, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it is.
Which,
I toss that around about doing it.
if you're watching on the screen, he's right up here,
Yeah.
autographed.
Oh, by Kevin Smith?
Jason Mewes and a couple of the other VSQ people. I was at a show with Kevin, but I was too busy to get away from my booth. And I just didn't want to make somebody else go wait in line for 2 hours to get the Buddy
Yeah.
Christ signed.
Kevin Smith came to our con in Lexington this year, but there was an issue with their plane. Him and somebody else, I can't remember who it was. So he was supposed to be there all day Saturday, all day Sunday. He didn't get there until Saturday night at like midnight. And he spent all day Sunday. They even opened up, and after the con was over, they opened up another ballroom that they rented for him. And he stayed, did everything, like, was amazing to the fans, and then said, I'll be back next year. So I think it'd be cool to do a buddy. So the reason I choose that is because it's controversial. First of all, I mean, for Christians, for some people who call themselves Christians, I mean, it's controversial. But it's also it's definitely something that you can talk to people about. You know, people will definitely talk about it. Christians and non-Christians. So it's a good way to bring both groups together to talk about something, whether they have differing opinions. I don't care. But it's definitely a, um, would you consider that biblical? That's probably not even biblical. That's probably pop culture. Buddy
It's on
Christ.
that line. And I meant because even like I know you when you first asked me about it, you hadn't seen the movie either.
Right.
But literally the sales pitch for why it exists, even in the movie, I want to say was George Carlin saying that the representation of Jesus is always glum and scary and melodramatic, and he's wanted to make an image of Christ that actually say, "Hey, I'm cool with you. I like you." You know, some I mean, so even in Kevin's way of even presenting that, I think there's still some solid truth and understanding in that.
But I think it would be cool to see it as a stained glass. So
Oh,
I mean,
absolutely.
you
Um,
know,
and the neat thing, I went to for my 40th birthday, I went to Kevin's shop in Jersey, and the
mhm.
actual statue is there. Um,
Nice
and they had it in a little. I don't know if it was stained glass or red satin or something like that, but they had it in a very that
case type thing.
yeah something
Mhm.
along those vibes. So if people want to check out more of your stuff, where should they go? By the way, like if you aren't familiar with Todd stuff, I one of my favorite things is just watching you put stuff together because you'll go live while you're working.
Yeah.
It's just a
I've been
neat,
doing that a lot on Twitch lately.
yeah,
So you can follow, I post a lot of stuff on Instagram and Facebook. I'm rarely on Twitter or X or whatever the heck it's called now. I'm never on Snapchat, even though I have it. So Instagram, Facebook, you can just go to Mosaic Fan Art. I do have a website, mosaicfanart.com. Again, go to Instagram or Facebook. That's where you get me. I am on Twitch as Mosaic Fan Art, and I do go live working on some of my stuff with my terrible camera. It's my phone, so that's what I have. Like you do the best you can with what you have and what you know, and I don't know how to do it. So, um, and that's where you can go. You can check that out. Um, I yeah, I don't know. That's about it. I'm pretty active in Discord for the most part with the Love Thy Nerd community and their Facebook community. Um, haven't been recently because I had a lot going on, but life takes over.
yeah. And
Yeah.
sometimes life is less forgiving than the class. Um,
Or
but yeah,
yes, it
there
is
we
less
go.
forgiving sometimes.
It is. So Todd, thanks for hanging out, man. Thanks for talking
Thank
with me.
you.
Thanks for sharing your heart. Thanks for doing the things that you do. I
Well,
greatly
thanks.
appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
And Todd's also you can see Todd a little bit in some of the my book stuff too. Todd's done a forward. Todd's done a book jacket thing. Todd's got a chapter in book eight.
Eight.
Book eight.
I
Yeah.
think so. Yeah,
Yeah. I forget like all of those things like they mash together. I was like, how long
I
has it been?
know.
Um,
And honestly, I have these thoughts of little devotions, and it's just I appreciate you, man, because it takes a lot to get it down on a piece of paper. You know, it sure does. People think, oh, you just crank those out. No, you don't just crank them out.
and it's hard for me too, like, and I'm sure it's also like you because you have so much stuff in your head that you want to accomplish. For me, I have to one thing at a time it
Yeah.
like if I want to be productive at all, like I can't if not all of my to-do list just comes like a conglomerate and like I'm just trapped in it. So somebody texted me Thursday to ask me if I could DJ a wedding,
Wow.
and I said, "All right, here's my rates, and I'll get back with you. Or give me your email. I'll send you a contract." They texted me Friday. Yeah, really like your rates. Want to book you? I was like, "All right, I'll get back to you." They called me Saturday. I'm at the show. I was like, "Hey, listen, I'm gonna get back to you because right now this is my focus. Come Monday, after I do this, and this, then I can
Yeah.
actually be DJ me and talk to you about that."
That
For
dude who wrote that book, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry,
yeah,
checks his email once a week. Can you imagine checking your email once a week? I check it multiple times a day.
yeah. Well, I'm at the place where all of my email gives me notifications every time an email comes in. So and that at that point I'm like, do I open this or not? is usually, and normally most emails I get are just like whatever.
Junk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know it gives some people anxiety. I'm currently sitting at
Don't
uh
tell me. Don't tell me. Don't tell me.
you don't want to know?
Okay. Yeah, I do. Go ahead. Tell me.
Uh my tracker on my Yahoo Mail stopped counting at 99,000
Oh,
unopened emails.
Hector, I have 19 and it's killing me.
I've got 99,000 Yahoo emails I've not opened, and I never will because I don't even use that email anymore, but it was my default email forever.
Wow. Nice.
But like, even with that, I've had for like book 9, I've been having like 5 chapters I want to write,
Mm-hmm.
and I haven't done anything with it because I had 2 sermon series I had to write
Yeah.
at my church.
This has been like a super busy summer for you.
Yeah. And so like I had sermon series I had to write at my church. I spoke at 5 camps, and I had to have different stuff at each camp.
Oh, wow. That's hard.
And so it's just like, like I got nothing. People are like, when's book 9? I'm like, so I'm shooting for October at this point, but who knows?
Yeah.
Um, but if I can, now that I've gotten like the stuff out of the way, I've got a little more freedom to actually create, maybe. Um,
There you go.
but I look forward to it, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you do. You said that you're already booked for your Kentucky show. What are the other,
Yep.
and Heroes Con? What's the other one you're thinking about?
I'm sure there's going to be one in Nashville in the summer, and it's small. It's like a Saturday Sunday deal,
Okay.
and I have free housing. So if I can get there, they've not they had one this past summer, and I couldn't get there. I don't know if they're going to have another one again, but I'm hoping to. If not, I may go to Cincinnati,
Okay.
which is in the fall.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
we're gonna have your links to everything on the all the socials and stuff for the
Woohoo!
site for when this goes live. And so y'all check out the stuff that Todd creates and his heart behind it. You're gonna be encouraged by it, and you're gonna see some really beautiful art. And Todd, I just appreciate all that you do, man. I really
Yeah,
love you and
appreciate you,
appreciate you.
man.
And we actually have to
Ditto.
get in the same
I know
like
room.
geographic region at some point in the
No kidding.
future.
It'll happen. It'll
It,
happen.
it will. So y'all, thank you for joining us for this podcast. Also want to thank the Faith and Fandom Patreon supporters for all your contributions to help make this possible. Thank Love Thy Nerd for having us on the network and for being a part of this. And remember, you can check out interviews from Faith and Fandom first at the Love Thy Nerd network at lovethynerd.com/faith and fandom, or on the YouTube channel. Make sure you drop by and subscribe to all of those, and check out some other great stuff that's on the Love Thy Nerd podcast network. And thank you, and have a great day.
We love you, Radio Matt.
We do love radio, Matt.